All right, guys, it is, can you believe it's already Wednesday night? That means another weekly episode of Conversations with Cougars. And I am so very pleased to have tonight's guest, Jacque Miller. How are you tonight, Jacque? It's so good to see you.
So happy to be here. Thank you so much for the invitation.
Well, guys, well, amateur hour around here, but I'm so glad that we connected again and that you've got some time. You got on that awesome Northview shirt right there. And Jacque, that truly is an awesome shirt. Uh, Tell folks what you're up to these days. Look at that, class of 84. Nice.
Yes, sir. Well, I am a wife of 33, almost 34 years in May. And I have 3 boys. I have to get used to saying that because unfortunately I had one to be murdered in July of 2020. Peachtree City. As a matter of fact, Peachtree is one of the counties, one of the cities that's in the county where I work. And I absolutely love it. My husband stole me out of college right as I was a senior, and we got married. We met in October, got engaged in February, married in May.
Wow.
Senior. So he was in flight school in Fort Rucker, Alabama. And I had always promised myself I did not want a military guy because I didn't want to travel ever in life. Didn't want to put my children through that. And what did I do? I went ahead and got me a military guy. And so the rest is history. He went on to Fort Hood for a couple of months until I graduated. I stayed at Troy, and I was working at a gas station to make money to finish school. And he came in one day, asked me for a date to the Luther Vandross concert. That was when Luther was really big back then.
Cool.
And that blew my whole mind. I love Luther. So he got to my dorm, and I was just still on this trip of nope, I don't want a military man. Nope. So I turned him down, and so we sat there and made him read a book. Read a book, and he kept coming, and then he finally wooed me over. And
he was persistent, huh?
Yeah, absolutely. And here we are, 33 and 3/4 years later.
That's so awesome. I love, and we're going to get more into it as the hour progresses, but I love learning people's stories and their journeys and what has shaped them. And we got a bunch of folks who've already rolled in. Jacque, say hello.
Yay!
We got Charles Bronson. We got Willie Banks.
All right.
We got Elaine Johnson is in here. So thank you, Elaine. And
thank you.
Guys, we're talking with Jacque Bigham Miller, and you were a couple of years ahead of me, but I always knew who the cheerleaders were, of course. That you had as much, if not more, school spirit than anybody in the school during my time period. And I want to, before we hit to the high school years, tell us what part of town did you grow up in, and who were some of your buddies before high school, and did you all know you were going to Northview?
Gladly. Yeah, absolutely. I was, I grew up in the Wilson Street area. I actually went to elementary school at Wilson Street Elementary School. I grew up off of Pointer Street, off of Stout Street, and that area. So I grew up around I don't know if you know the Sheila Smiths, the Bunny Thomas, those people. Angela, we called her Mama. She's no longer alive, but Marcus Paul, James Gardner, those type people, Lynn Brown, the Bright Star, just all of those people in that area. We grew up together. Wilson Street Elementary School, Honeysuckle Middle School, grew up in that area. And man, I remember having to catch rides to cheerleader practice. So that's the area that I grew up in.
And did you cheer?
Tight-knit group of people, real tight-knit group.
Certainly sounds like it. Did
Yes.
you cheer or play sports at Honeysuckle?
Oh my goodness, how dare you ask me that? Of course I was a cheerleader.
I have no doubt about that. I just was, oh, there we go. There we go.
I was a cheerleader at Honeysuckle, and I played volleyball. I played volleyball at Honeysuckle, which was a great sport. Love volleyball, and I can't believe I didn't carry it on because I love volleyball. To this day, I love watching it. And
well, I knew you were athletic, so that's why I just assumed that there were some sports in there as well as cheerleading. And the neighborhood where you grew up, was it always zoned for Northview at the time, or was there any doubt about where you'd be going to high school?
to be honest, I didn't even know anything about the new school. We were hearing the rumblings about it. We were just so happy to have a new school coming to our area. And then when we found out for sure we were going to have a new school, then we started peeping at it. We started rolling through there, going through, riding through, trying to see what it was about. And it was just humongous. It was like a college. And we couldn't believe that we were actually going to be going to that school. So once we found out for sure we were going to be going to that school, it was wow. We felt the most pride you could ever imagine. It was just nothing but pride.
That's so great. Shirley C says to tell you hello.
Hi, C.
And Marion Whitehurst also says to tell you hello.
Hi. Hey, Marion.
You got a lot of folks rolling in here.
Oh, thank you all. Thank you.
Will be coming soon, I'm sure, Jackie.
Oh.
Let's talk about that 8th grade. I always like to talk about the transition from middle school to high school. You had all that enthusiasm, but you know, it's a weird time for any child transitioning from middle school to the high school with increased responsibilities when it came to academics. You wanted to try out and be a cheerleader and just figure out where you were growing as we hit that time period. Tell us about trying out for cheerleading and all of that.
Oh my, you can not even imagine how intimidating it was, because the young ladies, first of all, were so talented. They were flipping and doing toe touches and round offs, and they were just dynamic. And just to go up against someone with that much competition and just beautiful. Can you imagine? I mean, I just remember Miss Dothan. I can't remember her name now. Holman, I think that was her name, but she was just gorgeous. And to get out there and to have to learn something new and to be going over to that gym, a brand new gym every day, and face those beautiful, tall cheerleaders who had all kinds of skills then. And just to go up against them, and they could yell and scream and flip and turn and jump and bounce. And whew, you cannot imagine how talented some of those young ladies were. But just to be embraced by them as well, because they made you feel so at home. They welcomed you and they brought us in and they taught us what we needed to learn. And so that, I think, taught me what it meant to be a true Cougar. It taught me what I needed to know. It put me at ease, and that made me want to go to that school even more. So after that, I was all in.
Well, it's not as if you came to the table as a slouch yourself. You brought skill, you brought enthusiasm, you brought spirit. Clearly, they saw that in you to embrace you and to bring you in. But you're right, whether it's cheerleaders or football players or people in the band, we're coming from all different parts of the city to become students of the same school and have the same goals. But that's very cool for you to say that. And Sissy Carol Reynolds says to tell you hello. And did you try out, or let me ask you, who was the cheerleading sponsor or coach back at that time?
Can't remember for JV, it wasn't Miss Hemby, I don't believe at that time. So, ooh,
That's okay.
to
That's
be
okay.
honest, I can't remember. That's what, 40, 50 years ago, it seems like.
But well, let me
Sorry.
ask you this, Jackie. When you found out that you had made the squad, what was that feeling like for you?
It was like no other feeling in the world. I promise you. I went home and I screamed, and my mother thought something was wrong with me. She thought that she needed to call the police or the ambulance or something, because it was like nothing you could even imagine. And then she brought me down to reality and tried to figure out how we were going to pay the dues and buy all of the materials.
Right.
Because it was extreme. It's expensive now, but it was for us back then. It was extremely expensive. But just the fact to be a part of the most dynamic group of young ladies, it was just more than I can even think about right now. Just
Now,
I look back at the pictures as I was trying to find some things, and going back through the yearbooks, just looking at the close knit group of young ladies we were, it was more than I could even think about and just dream about to this day, how close we were and the things that we were able to accomplish together. It was just beautiful.
now you entered high school in the fall of 81,
80.
80. So you were what year? Sophomore when they won the first state title. And I'm going to get
Yes.
to that in just a minute.
Yes.
But when you came over to Northview as a ninth grader, did you already know any students who are older than you at the school? Did you have siblings or cousins or neighbors?
None. Not a one. The ones I entered with were the ones that I knew. Those are the ones who I knew.
So really your honeysuckle friends coming over as ninth graders are really the only ones you really knew. And you just had to forge your own new friendships and paths of learning.
That
And
is it.
I still remember how intimidated I was in my ninth grade math class. I'm thinking, this is a huge school. I'm used to the middle school. I don't know. I don't like math. I looked around and saw two kids I knew. I'm like, oh, how am I going to get through this? Did you ever have any of those doubts, or did you just come in guns a blazing and I'm going to get this?
Well, I'm sure I had those doubts, but then on the other hand, the way I think is that I've got to make room for what I need to do because I'm on a mission. I knew what I had to do. I was on a strategic mission, and I've always been like that. So I didn't have time to be scared. And that's usually the way I am. But I had a lot of good, I think that camaraderie we had on the squad made a difference because we had been there over the summer. We had been planning and doing things together. So I think that made the difference. it makes, you know, that cohesiveness that you build together as a team makes all the difference in the world.
Well,
So I think that coming in with those people tremendously to have a different viewpoint of the school.
you know, just as a ninth grader, to have a group to belong with
Yeah.
kind of puts you in a safe space, so to speak, or it gives you an identity. Oh, you're Jackie. You're on the cheer squad.
Yes.
Or you're Bernard. You play, you know, you play football.
Yes.
It at least gives you as a ninth grader something to cling on to, or
Yes.
to call your safe spot. But let me ask you, it's, you know, this is the early 80s. Times have certainly changed. The racial demographics of our city have changed. Northview's racial demographics changed over the years. The squads that you were on were predominantly white squads. Um, how did that impact your thought process at all, or your approach to joining that kind of a squad? Did you have any, I guess, any fears or doubts until you realized they embraced you, as you said, and made you, you know, part of the team?
Wow, that's an extremely important question. Thank you for asking that. It was extremely important to me to be a standout person, not just a standout person, but a standout student. I knew that at all times, people were looking at me to see how I would react to certain situations. I knew that people would look at me to see whether my grades were top notch. I knew that people were looking at me in the cafeteria to see whether or not I would put my tray in a particular place, or whether or not I would actually take my tray and put it away. I knew that at all times eyes were on me because I was the only African-American female cheerleader at that time on my squad. I know that 10 was a cheerleader before me, but I know once she left, I was the only African-American cheerleader. And I know that all eyes were on me. So usually that's the way it's been in most of my classes. And I know that in most of the areas and field that I've been in. So I know, and I knew then, that I've always had to do things a little different, and I had to be set apart. And that was okay with me because I have always carried myself in a way that has been respectable and classy, and I think worthy of being a representative of Northview. I've never had a problem with that. Other people may have had problems with it, but I've never had a problem with it.
Well, as a 13, 14-year-old just starting high school, that's big responsibility on your shoulders. And it really takes a very mature approach, because a lot of children, and as a 13-year-old, you're still, you know, a child, whether it's in sports or cheer, band, whatever you're representing, a lot of people would shy away from that. But gosh, for you to take that upon yourself and to hold yourself and conduct yourself that way, that must have been a real responsibility. Now, did you find it, how do I put this? Did you find it to be burdensome at times? Or is it a sense of pride, a thing that you really decided that was how I was going to live my life?
It was always a sense of pride, always a sense of pride, especially when we went off to those cheerleader camps, Auburn, or when we went to the Prattville games, or wherever we went. And I saw other African-American cheerleaders, and I was able to get their addresses so that I could write home addresses so that we could write each other back and forth. And I still have letters today in my memory book, which is the most awesome thing to me. The fact that we connected in that way, that's what people understand, is that you make lifelong connections.
Mhm.
It's just, it was just a sense of pride. The fact that, and not only a sense of pride at the time, but now the lessons that I was able to learn through being a part of that squad, my other cheerleaders, from the sponsor, from all of the people who were involved, from you all, see the way you interacted with each other, the way you interacted and took care of us to make sure that we were okay, and just all of that. I learned so much, and I was able to take that into my adulthood. So
Wow. Wow.
everything, I think,
Mhm.
happens for a reason.
Mhm.
I went through that by myself for a reason. Everything happens for a reason.
Well, Jackie, I know that not every day in our childhood and our high school years are the best of days. We have our ups and downs. Everyone does.
Yeah.
But what I'm hearing from you, and tell me if this was kind of your thoughts, that the way you were accepted and not just accepted, you just became part of the squad and they were your friends and you were their friends. It was a sense of a family, so to speak, a school family, and you belong to a squad. And you partially answered one of my next questions. Was I know that going to competitions in the summertime were very important to the cheer squads, and I guess I wanted to get you to kind of address a little bit of that experience. You said you saw other African American cheerleaders and you were able to connect with them, but what was it like representing Northview, regardless if you were white or African American or whatever color or ethnicity? What was it like representing our school with your squad at those competitions?
Goodness. It was the biggest endeavor ever. I did at that time, and I still do to this day, think that Northview High School is the biggest and the best that has ever been made, ever. And Dr. Smith was the best principal ever. There, I mean, there is not another, and there will never be another. I am just devastated that they merged the two together. So and I teach my students this now, to be able to wear a uniform and to represent your school is the ultimate price, is the ultimate. Not everybody can put on a uniform and say that I am a representative of Northview High School. Everybody does not have this opportunity. How many guys have an opportunity to get that helmet and those shoulder pads? There's somebody in that outer locker room who's crying because they didn't get an opportunity to play. There was somebody who wanted my uniform letter, did not get an opportunity to receive it because they were not good enough. They did not get a chance to wear these cheerleader shoes because they didn't make the cut. Now, when you put this uniform on, is what I tell my students. When you put this uniform on, you need to represent hard. You don't eat, chew, walk, talk inappropriately, because somebody is always going to look at you and say, oh, that's what they do over there at Northview. So I take that, and I took that very seriously. Every time, you can ask my husband, my son, anyone, when I go down that 431 or 2, whatever it is, when I'm going into Dothan from Atlanta, I stop, and I used to stop. God rest his soul. I used to stop and take a picture at that Cougar, at that pole, every single time. That's just how much I loved my alma mater. I promise you, I love myself some Northview High School.
You know,
I don't know why I got that ingrained in me. We were that oh my goodness, that pride was just instilled in us back then. I don't know what it was, but it was ingrained in us. And so to be able to say that I went to camp and we got superiors and we got the spirit stick at Auburn, my goodness. You don't hear that often. And so we were, yeah, heck yeah. I tell anybody that and be very proud to say, you better believe I got this shirt specially made with 1984 on it. I love Northview High School. And people cannot understand. My kids would tell you now, I'm just like, you don't want to be involved in your high school? What? Does not get involved in their high school? That is beyond my comprehension because we had such good times in high school. It was like a second home for us.
Well, I was going to say that what people don't appreciate, what they don't see are the long hours that the band puts in, that the cheer squads put in, that the football program puts in. The football program may be the one who gets all the publicity because they're playing on Friday nights. But the cheer squads are putting in as many hours. They're making banners, they're decorating, they're perfecting their cheers and so forth. And this is where I want to take you to. I want you to take us to a pep rally in 9th or 10th grade and you're performing. Take us to that leading up to the Friday pep rally. A little bit of the prep work. What did you guys have to do to get ready? Because they were always a team. They were always so well choreographed. The outfits, you brought in, maybe certain football players helped out, maybe other students helped out. Certainly the teachers who were involved all just made it such a dynamic experience each time, and not to mention the end with Dr. Smith. But take us through the leading up to it. What were you guys doing behind the scenes, getting ready?
Oh my goodness, those practices were gruesome. They were gruesome. We learned, first of all, having to learn the routine for the pep rallies, thinking of the theme, first of all. I don't know if you remember those, the radio shows where they would splice the music and then they would put in the words for the team. Or do you remember when they would take the music and then they would put in the words like, okay, the Cougars, the eye of the tiger is the cream of the, okay, and then they would put in the eye of the Cougar is, okay, so we would have to do that. And remember, we had to do it by hand because there were no computers back then. And so we would have to do that, and it would take hours and hours and hours to do that. So we had to make there was a music part, and then we had the banner part where you actually had to draw the banner. And so we had to come up with the theme. First of all, you came up with the theme. Once we came up with the theme, and that wasn't my part because I'm not original and I'm not creative at all. So that would be somebody like Kelly or Tina or Dimity Lee, somebody like that, those great artistic kind of people. And then So they would draw it out and have it planned out. And then they would come up with the music, depending on what we were doing, probably like playing Dothan High or something like that. And everything would be centered around that theme. Then we would start drawing and draw and draw and draw. My favorite part was drawing the big banner that you all would burst through. That was my absolute favorite part.
The Friday night on the field banner.
Oh, that was my favorite part. And then, believe it or not, we didn't draw a lot of the ones that went around the school. That was the pep club. So they did a lot of those. And my favorite part, however, was making the bags that went in your lockers, the locker room. I love that part, because we got to make sure that you all felt special on that before the games. So that was my favorite part. So that's what I can remember, Bernard. Everything else is just
well, I can tell you, whether as a ninth grader when I'm sitting with my ninth grade friends in the stands, or my last 3 years, 10th, 11th, and 12th, being on the floor, wearing our jerseys, and then you guys coming into the gym, and the music, it's Madonna, or it's Michael Jackson, or whatever music at that time that was hot. But y'all always had such awesome routines, and the entire school was there, and it was electric inside the gym. And I couldn't imagine a school having more pride at that time. But it was, everybody's favorite part was the end. And I want you to describe what you saw and felt when Dr. Smith came up to speak.
Chills. I try my best to find some poems from him, because my friend, a very good friend of mine, was married to his son. So I was trying my best, his son, before he died. And so I was trying my best to get some of his poems, was say before the games, but I couldn't get any from her. And he was just electric throughout that entire, it didn't matter what he said. He could say, "Get out." And everybody would just be rah! For the gym. And it was just, he would just have such energy. He would just absolutely go crazy. We loved his style of principalship. Just get us so excited about anything. But just to know that always at the end, he was going to tell us not to meet him there, but to meet him there. So we knew that was coming at the end always. So
you never could hear him finish it, because
never.
We're screaming it back at him. And then the band played everybody out of the gym, and it just was such a great time. And Val Whitehurst says she remembers the Flag Corps did routines off of Michael Jackson. Absolutely.
Those flag girls were good. They were really good. Those girls, they were good.
Well, I want to take you to your sophomore year, that special season, the 81 team, getting to come up to Birmingham and winning the state championship. And I've talked to several of the ball players, but I have yet to talk with anybody from the cheer squad on their experience. First of all, had you ever been to Birmingham before that? Had you ever been to
No, never. And had not been probably since, I was in college and I did go for a classic, one of the classes I did go. But no, it was just electrifying. I can't imagine how the football players were going through it, but that bus ride,
Now the team came up the Tuesday of the week of the game to practice that day. Get a little bit of a taste of what the field was like, the enormity of the stadium. It's not like old Rip Hughes. This was a big major stadium. And did you ride up in a bus with your family, with other cheerleaders? What was that drive like?
The cheerleaders. I was with the cheerleaders.
Mhm. And did you come
Um,
Friday night
very
before?
cool. Yeah, and it was very intense and scary and exciting and you name it. It was that. It was
And then getting out onto that field and cheering.
yeah, a major field.
And how was that? I bet that was a real experience.
It was fun and scary and exciting and we knew we were gonna win.
Well, it was a
You
nail
know
biter.
what? The thing about cheerleading, for me anyway, let me speak for myself.
Mhm.
We think the louder we yell, the more you run, or we just, I do anyway. I think that we have the power. It's not you all doing anything, it's us.
Well, I will tell you from experience, the players on the field, they feel that and they
Good.
feed off of that. And the amount of enthusiasm that you guys on the field right down the road from us feed into the crowd. And then the crowd feeds it back onto the field. Absolutely makes a difference. No doubt. Now, when the game was won and it was a nail biter of a game, and the game had been decided, and we were the 81 state champs, and it was the end of the season for the guys and the girls on the cheer squads who were seniors. It's almost a little bit of a bittersweet moment in that you came to the mountaintop and you achieved all that you wanted to achieve and were declared champions. But for the seniors, for the most part, most of them, that was it. They were finished playing ball, they were finished cheering. They just had to finish out their school year and then they'd head on to whatever they was next in life. But you were still a sophomore. You still had 2 more full years of high school. Was there talk or was there the belief, well, we're just going to come back next year and we're going to win this again and again? Or was it, and I don't think no one took it for granted. I don't mean that. But when you're at the top, when you're at the peak, there's a sense of, well, we're just coming back and we're going to do this again. Do you remember having that discussions or feelings about whether you'd be back the following season?
Well, yes. It's just that easy, right?
Right, right.
It's not that big of a deal.
Well, if every team could have Larry Roberts and,
Right.
and all of those guys, sure, we'll come back.
Yeah.
But that truly
That-
special year, and it may have been Northview's greatest team, 13-1, all kind of superstars on the field who went on to do great things, and Coach Parrish winning his first state championship and only being about 4 years old at the time. So I know that helped to feed my senior year 4 years later when we won the state, because everybody wanted to duplicate what y'all had done in 81. So but as a sophomore, I would think it would be of my mindset, yeah, we're coming back next year. We're gonna win it again. But of course we know that's tough to repeat.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
And then in a cheerleader's mind, it's easy for us to say. I'm sure the football players were not thinking. I mean, I don't know what the football players were thinking, but like I said, all I thought about was, all I had to do is yell loud enough and
it'll happen. Hey. It'll happen. Well, Jacque, after football season, did you cheer for basketball as well, or were you just?
I did. And that's my favorite game. So I love basketball.
Well, you're right there at the court. And and those teams back then were very good teams.
Yes.
Who were some of your buddies on the basketball team? Not the cheer squad, but the actual basketball players. Who were some of your buddies?
Oh, good. So glad you asked me that. Woo woo. Jonathan Parker. Let's see, who else played? Who else played?
I think DJ played a little bit. Leo played.
Leo, okay. So Leo, those were people who were in my class. So Those are the people I remember. But I just love basketball, and I love winning. I'm one of those who I love winning. So those were the people who were in my class that I remember. But I just love, if you're with Northview and you're winning, hey, I'm for you. I'm all for you.
Awesome, awesome.
Yeah.
Well, Jacque, let's take it to your senior year. You've completed all of your cheering for the different squads, and it's, you know, you're getting into the springtime, and you're going to be graduating soon. Had you already set your sights on college or what you were going to be doing after high school?
I did not. And remember, I did not make it for my senior year. I did not get chosen for my senior year to cheer.
Let's talk about that for just a minute. I don't know if it's a hurtful time for you or what it was, but what can you take us through a little bit of that?
Sure. I did try out,
Mhm.
and I don't know. I try to tell myself I didn't do everything I was supposed to do.
Mhm.
I didn't know the cheers.
Mhm.
Don't know if that was it. I have no idea what it was. But I do know that I was devastated. I was hurt. It was a very painful, I don't know, probably good week for me.
Mhm.
And I used it. A teacher pulled me to the side and gave me some very good nuggets. I used it as a learning opportunity, and I used it to propel me to the next level. It was a really, really hard pill to swallow, but it did me some good not being on that squad that senior year. It
That-
really did me some good. So I used it to my benefit.
Well, good.
I make the squad.
Well,
Yeah, I really thought I was going to, but then I had a really, really good teacher to come and put some good information in my ear.
Mhm.
So I was really okay with it after that person pulled me to the side.
Well, let me ask you, and I always like to find out. I'm not asking you to tell us who it was or what was said, but I want to find out just as overall, who were some of your favorite teachers and or classes? What did you really enjoy from an academic standpoint?
Good question. Ooh, I really, my favorite class of all time was literature.
Mhm.
Glanton,
Mhm.
Miss Keith. Um, what was that? We learned how to sew and cook and
Home economics.
home economics. Oh my goodness, kids need that. They need that. Lord Jesus. And the best class I could have ever had, I think it was Miss Hemby, who the business,
Mhm.
learn how to type. I made so much money typing people's papers because they don't know how to type. Love that class. Love, 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 love that
I
class.
paid so much money to have people type my papers in college.
I made so much money. She could not have given me a better skill. I love that class.
Oh, that's awesome. That's
Yes.
awesome. Well, what about where in the school, if you had some time to hang out, was it at the lockers, the library, the student center? Where were some of your favorite places if you had some downtime?
Ooh, if we had some downtime, to be honest, right at the corner of our lockers,
Mhm.
I don't know if you, Bruce, I know you remember Bruce Johnson,
Of course.
God rest his soul. Bruce, Tessa Andrews, do you remember Tessa Andrews? They dated. And I would hang around the bottom of our lockers trying to get our classes together, some homework, that we didn't understand, we would all three be right there trying to get our work together because we had a very serious class. Can't remember what class it was, but we were, all of our heads were right there in the at the end of those lockers. So right there at the end of those, that one set of lockers, I can picture us now just right there at the end of those lockers. So
Awesome.
while everybody else is walking by. So that's what we pretty much hung out trying to get it together.
Oh, wow. And we've got just a couple more minutes with Jacque Bigham Miller. You're taking us through some awesome memories. And I sure appreciate you sharing your experiences so far with us and all those life lessons. And the fact that you're then instilling those life lessons, not just with your children, but also the students who you've impacted for many years now. So thank you, Jacque. And I have just a couple more questions before we get you out. And I guess if you could, I don't know if this is going to be easy for you, but if you could describe that sense of pride, that sense of feeling about what it meant to you to be a Northview Cougar then and now, how would you describe that?
I would describe it as having not only school spirit then, but being able to, and now, but being able to hold my own in a conversation with people from any form, from executives down to a student. I've been to Germany, I've been to Italy, I've been in the boardroom, I've been in the classroom, I have been just all over the world. And because of the education that I received at Northview High School and the support that I received from the faculty and staff at Northview High School, my friends, my family, the cheer squad, the many clubs I was in, the things that I learned from Dr. Smith, and the many people I came in contact with at Northview High School, and the people I'm still coming in contact with, still meeting from Northview High School. I'm able to hold on conversations, intelligent conversations with many, many people. And so for that, I have a sense of pride. I have no problem at all telling people that I'm a graduate from Northview High School, Dothan, Alabama.
You're one of the very best examples of anybody I've known who represents our school spirit, our school's pride. One last question for you, Jacque. I remember back in the day, the cheerleaders would throw those little plastic footballs up into the stands. Do you remember that?
Yes.
How far could you throw one of those footballs up into those stands?
To the rafters, baby, to the rafters.
Oh, that's so awesome. And Jacque, thank you for spending some time with me tonight. I have thoroughly enjoyed our conversation. And DJ just dropped into the conversation. So thank you, Doug, for stopping by as well. And guys, this will conclude another just fantastic conversation with a fantastic Cougar. And as we do every Wednesday night, conversations with Cougars, and we're going to keep on rolling. We want to thank everybody who stops by while we're live or watches them later on. You think this is fun for you guys out there watching and commenting. I'm the one having the most fun here because I get to catch up with former classmates and meeting so many other generation Cougars as well. So thank you, Jacque, and thank you, everybody. Hope you guys have a good night.